let's talk about MicroStrategy. हम 2-3 दिन से MicroStrategy की बात कर रहे हैं.
Oh, sensitive
And
topic.
yeah, they had this whole issue with JP Morgan, and uh, obviously Saylor is like now everywhere, right? CNBC and everywhere पर बोल रहा है कि भाई ये JP Morgan वाले जो शॉर्ट वॉट ले रहे हैं सब बेवकूफ है, बिटकॉइन की प्राइस ऊपर जाने वाली है, whatever. So आज अपने एक 45 सब्सक्राइबर्स में एक ने रिक्वेस्ट भी किया था कि कैन यू डू अ डीप डाइव ऑन MicroStrategy. So let's do that. Crypto ID तुझसे start करते हैं with the history of sort of Michael Saylor and strategy, and how did it start and where did he come from?
Okay, so Michael Saylor. Well, to be honest, I think he's an MIT graduate, and interestingly, he's an aeronautics and aerospace engineer sort of thing, right? And very early got into IT and technology and stuff. And so him and one of his friends in MIT, I don't remember the other guy, was some Indian American dude. They started MicroStrategy together, right? And MicroStrategy basically started as a software entity, right? They were basically building, I don't remember exactly what they were building. They were into sort of support software services. And then they later evolved into business intelligence and data analytics tools. That's what happened. I think in the early 90s, that's what they did into. Once that happened, then they went for an IPO, I think in 1998, right? And initially they were really good. By 2000, I think, or the dot-com bubble, they were like, everybody was eyeing on them. Okay, MicroStrategy is a great company. They're making their earnings reports were excellent. And then dot-com bubble happened, and MicroStrategy stocks, they fell up to, I think, 99%. It just crashed bad. And then SEC sort of filed charges on them. There was very famous, आज भी हम उसी के बारे में बात करते हैं कि इस पे तो पहले भी केस हुआ हुआ है. And the case was that he was basically he was prematurely sharing his or basically premature revenue show कर रहा था अपना, and he was inflating his revenue data, which was pushing the share price up eventually. So yeah, he didn't accept the blame. He didn't deny it. He just settled it, paid 350,000 as a fine or whatever, and then continued on. And I think after that, the MSTR shares were really just flatlining. They didn't really do well. In fact, they were just moving down. And then came 2020 when he decided to sort of get into Bitcoin and started buying Bitcoin as a reserve for the company, the strategic reserve for their company asset, to manage their balance sheet. And I think that was about $250 million worth of BTC that he bought in 2020. And that year, Mr. Stocks skyrocketed, right? So they went like 400% up or something like that. It literally went crazy. Up $250 तक चला गया था token उसका price. Yeah, it went up, and then since then he's been the talk of the town. Like he's been a very strong advocate of BTC, and in all reality, all this time his actual business model has not been generating enough revenue. I mean, they've been barely breaking even. I think by now their share, the revenue models that they have, I think the business itself raises like 500-600 million in revenues per year. I mean, it's barely anything compared to what he actually shows. So yeah, and what they did since 2020 is they've been accumulating BTC, expanding their balance sheet, and sort of and because of that they're pushing their stock prices further high, right? And one thing that a lot of people when trading Mr. right, they think that it's volatile, yes. Is he excellent in pushing BTC? We don't know. But to look at it from a very long-term perspective, if you had bought in $1,000 worth of Mr. stocks in 1998 or 1999, today they'll be worth like $15,000-$16,000, right? So over 15 years or 20 years, they have actually made money. But throughout this time, they've been extremely volatile. So the stocks have gone down 99% and then come back up, and then gone down 50-60% and then come back up. And they've been volatile. Exactly. I mean, to be honest, he's like the OG crypto founder with his tokens moving up and down. So that's Mr. I think there's a lot of how he trades and what how he manages his balance sheet with BTC. I think realists will be better to explain that.
Got it.
But yeah,
Narkundi, other than their financial sort of products that they, yeah, other than sort of the IT products that they offer, right? They also offer some kind of financial products like हम आपके लिए BTC खरीद के रखेंगे या something like that. Like in ETF, do they do that? Like they have some range of products which I was seeing. So just give us a little detail about that.
Yeah, if you check Strategy's homepage, it looks more like a financial products website than a actual BI company. And it's one thing for their stock to fluctuate based on actual market share, but their BI services is less than 1% or less than 2% of actual BI. So you have Power BI, Tableau, the big wigs who have all their market share. So holding on to that stock back in 99 when it crashed 99%, I think nobody would have done that, to see like what will happen
yes,
20 years later.
yes,
So now if you check Strategy's site, so you have a couple of products. So first one is the MSTR stock, which is pure common stock. It doesn't offer any equity on it, which means that whatever the price goes up, you have the upside and the equal downside. In addition to that, they have financial products structured as preferential stocks, preferred stocks. Preferred stocks come right in between debt. So if, let's say in the case of liquidation, debtors have to be paid the money. After that come preferred stocks, which are these individual products that they have offered, and below that is common stock. So in terms of the preferred stocks, they have a couple of products in them. The most lowest rated one in the preferred stocks is called STRD, and this one it offers 10% yield. So these products, these are being incentivized by the yield that they're offering. So 10% yield on them, 8% yield on them, depending on which product you choose. But that's the initial um, let's say catch for users, that okay, if you don't want pure equity exposure to MSTR, you can go for these products where you get 8%, 10% yield. And the only one that offers a convertibility into MSTR is the STRK product that they have. Now that offers a lower yield of 8%, but it gives you the option to convert at zero point 0.1 for every uh, zero point 0.1 for every MSTR that you want to buy it to. And the last one that they have is STRF, which is the highest in terms of the preferred stocks, but then your dividend yield is slightly lower at 9%. Now, recently, with all the side you're on, like, what's happening, BTC prices, what's happening with JP Morgan and all, the yield on their products has started to fluctuate. So the junior most one, which is STRD, it's supposed to offer a 10% yield, but right now it's offering a 14% yield, which means that the people who are invested into it, they are losing a bit of confidence. So you have to offer high yield to newer people who are coming in to support the previous ones that are there. And that's causing a lot of fluctuation because each of these preferred stock products, they have more than 500 million in MCAP. So there's a lot of yield that needs to be distributed to these people. And unless people don't keep coming in to these products, how do you give the how do you give back the yield to the additional to the people who came in earlier? And also, I think from their balance sheets, one of the concerns was that they, from a pure cash basis, they had about 50 million in cash. So where do you pay these dividend yields from if you're not getting new people? So as long as BTC is going up, it's great because the exposure continues, and they can say that okay, on balance sheet this is additional returns that they have generated, which means they can borrow more money and then pay off those yields. But what happens when the prices start crashing? And I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that scenario right now.
Got it. यही सेम जो नरकुंडी इस पे बात कर रहे थे, कल मारियो नॉफल ने भी एक रियलिस्टिक बहुत बड़ा sort of पोस्ट निकाला और मैं तेरे शेयर भी किया था कि आज इस पे बात करते हैं. What he is also saying कि उनका जो मॉडल है MicroStrategy का, it's gonna fail. So can you just like tell people like in simpler terms कि what does that mean, कि क्या वो क्या ऑफर कर रहे हैं और क्या उनकी पेमेंट्स आ रही हैं और किस तरह से वो मॉडल फेल होने वाला है?
So one thing that people sort of alluded to was the dividend overhang, right? Which effectively is there on the STRK, STRE, and the other products that they've sort of come up with, which is basically preferred stock that they've issued, right? MSTR is a game of value accretion, right? It is, I mean, we've seen this in crypto. I mean, if someone remembers Olympus DAO, it was pretty much the same model what MSTR sort of functions on. तो वो लोग क्या करते हैं, if you have let's say Bitcoin is trading at $100 for example, right? Price of one BTC is $100 and MSTR is effectively holding BTC and MSTR price is also $100. So technically for one MSTR you have one BTC backing because MSTR का price भी $100 है, MSTR के shares भी one ही है, right? And BTC भी one है because MSTR has to hold 1:1 का value, right? That's the whole play. अब होता क्या है कि because MSTR is more accessible than ETFs, right, or had been for a very, very long time, people were happily paying a premium on MSTR in order to get BTC exposure, right? I'll sort of start by summarizing what Crypto Daddy and Narcoti have already said, right, just to set up the base on what that is all about or what the FUD is all about right now. So now let's say because people were paying that higher price, for example, पहले क्या होता था, हम लोग जैसे होता नहीं था कि हम लोग एक meme token खरीदने के लिए because we know we are going to make 10x on it, we would even end up paying $100 in gas fees. फर्क नहीं पड़ता था, 10% भी gas fees में देते थे हम लोग because हमको तो पता है यार, हमको तो 10 गुना कमाना है इसमें, right? So we never sort of bothered paying that additional tax. I mean, as tax in the form of transaction revenue. At times, I remember we've also paid double. Like अगर $100 का ticket size है, $200 भी pay कर दिया हम लोगों ने, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, allocation मिल जाएगी. हमें तो $1,000 बनाने, मैं $100 डाल के $900 कमाने वाला था, $100 गैस में चले गए, कोई बात नहीं, 800 कमा लूंगा. It is still money, right? Because that is the potential upside. Which is why historically we saw that maybe an MSTR was trading at 2x the value also at times, right? तो होता क्या था कि अब देखो MSTR का शेयर है बाजार में 1, ठीक है? MSTR का प्राइस चल रहा है $200, BTC का प्राइस चल रहा है $100, MSTR के पास एक BTC है, टेक्निकली अभी उनके पास एक डबल का प्रीमियम, 2x का प्रीमियम चल रहा है उनके NAV के बेसिस पे. तो what will MSTR do in this particular case? The first thing that MSTR started doing before it started raising money on debt, right? The first base thing that it did was, अरे $200 का प्राइस चल रहा है MSTR का, शेयर तो एक ही है, BTC भी एक है मेरे पास, BTC का प्राइस भी $100 है. Let me do one thing. Let me issue additional MSTR shares, right? So what I will then do is I will issue one more MSTR share, just one more, and I'll sell it in the open market, right? मैं जब open market में बेचूंगा मेरे को $200 मिल गए उसके, ठीक है? Yes. उस $200 से मैंने क्या किया, 2 BTC और खरीद लिया मैंने, बिकॉज मेरा थीसिस यही है, मैं सिर्फ BTC खरीद सकता हूँ, ठीक है? मेरे को जितना से ज्यादा BTC चाहिए. तो अब मैंने वो $200 से BTC खरीद लिया. BTC का प्राइस कितना चल रहा है? $100. मेरे पास 2 BTC आ गए. अब इफेक्टिवली मेरे पास कितने BTC हो गए? 3 BTC हो गए. पहले एक था, अब 2 और खरीद लिए. मेरे शेयर्स कितने हैं? पहले मेरा प्रीमियम 2x था, मेरे अभी शेयर्स कितने हैं? MSTR के 2 शेयर हैं. BTC कितने हैं? 3. Yes. ठीक है. I have what I have effectively done is, पहले मेरा अगर valuation premium 2x था, वो valuation premium अभी 1.5x के करीब आ गया. 1.5. I am still above on a premium basis. I am still above my net asset value. This is called the process of accretion. तो पहले ये लोग ये करते थे, they used to just keep on issuing, so the price would trade above. They would just issue more stocks, sell it in the open market, get more premium, buy more BTC with it, unless or until the price comes close to 1 NAV, right? जब 1 NAV पे आ जाएंगे ये कर नहीं सकते, because then you will be trading at a discount. Nobody wants that, right? Your short shareholders will lose confidence. So then what he thought of doing was, let me do another thing. He then went ahead and started raising convertible bonds, right? This is the second thing that Michael Saylor did, right? अब convertible bonds में वो क्या करता था? Convertible bonds में he would go and say that, you know what, I will give you a convertibility factor. So whatever money that I'm raising from you, and these are set to mature in 2028, 2029, right? Long-term mature bonds लिए थे इसने. He then gave the option to the creditors, saying that, भैया तुम मेरे को पैसा दो, right? I will use this to go and buy BTC, right? Now if I go and buy BTC, right, मेरा BTC का quantity बढ़े जा रहा है, मेरा NAV expand हो जा रहा है, I can go and issue more of my sort of shares, बिकॉज उस केस में मेरे को शेयर तो अभी इशू नहीं करना पड़ रहा, मैंने बस अभी बॉन्ड इशू किया. This bond is convertible for MSTR, right? Should you choose to, and when will a creditor convert it to MSTR? Provided the price of MSTR is trading way above the actual NAV price, the creditor will say, मैंने तेरे को 100 रुपए उधार में दिए थे, तू पैसे मत दे, मेरे को स्टॉक दे दे, मैं स्टॉक बेच के पैसे कमा लूंगा अपने, right? Or the other cases, if the price is trading below NAV, the creditor can say, you know what, pay me back my paisa, I don't want to convert it to MSTR, you pay me back my principal money, right? ये करके he raised roughly about $8 billion, right? And this is, and to be honest, $8 billion is still a drop in the ocean when it comes to the asset size that he's holding, right?
Yeah.
Next, तो अब इससे उसका मन भर गया, and इसमें ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं देता था वो, इसमें उसका इंटरेस्ट is very very low. His interest was 0.5% per year, which is negligible because he's giving a convertibility option. Right?
Yeah.
So
it's not cash,
which is why he's not giving much interest, right?
Yeah.
Then came his preferred stock. उसने बोला यार इससे मेरा पेट भर गया, अब मैं कुछ नया करके देखता हूँ. He's like a DeFi scientist, right? As we call it.
Yeah.
Like he's coming up with these flywheels. So what did he do next? He then, something that Narkudi was talking about, and he explained that very, very well, so I won't go into much detail. So he then issued these preferred stocks like STRK and जो भी STRC, जो भी उसने मतलब अलग-अलग strike, stretch, कुछ तो नाम थे उनके. He then started issuing them. उसके अंदर उसने क्या किया, उसने बोला इसमें मैं तुम्हें, this is direct stock, right? There is no principal or whatever here. He's directly issued stock, and he's then told them that, you know what, you buy for this stock, I will pay you a fixed dividend payout every year. Now in this case, because obviously capital was becoming a little difficult for him to raise, because this looks like a desperate move, because earlier he was getting capital at 0.1%. This time he's raised capital, which is preferred stock, at 10%, 8%, the figures that Narkudi mentioned, right? Clearly because ETFs came about. जब ETFs आ गए इसकी लग गई, because इसके product का वो edge चला गया. So which is why cost of capital for him became very, very expensive, which is very evident by the fact that he sort of issued these preferred stock units, not options. अब इसमें क्या है कि the dividend payout is something that he has to pay out, right? तो common stockholders जो है, जो MSTR के common stockholders हैं, उनको dividend तब मिलता है अगर he decides to give, like if the board decides to issue dividend. इसमें compulsory dividend जाता है आपका, right? And the overall, and इसमें भी I roughly feel he raised about $7 billion from this also, right? And 10% annual yield के हिसाब से $700 million का इसका payout बनता है इसका, which has to be paid out every quarter, right? So has to be paid out every quarter. कुछ का I think monthly है, मेरे को पता नहीं, but this is what he has to pay out. So $700 million is what he needs to pay out on a yearly basis. So divide that by roughly 4, you're looking at way around $125 million, I think. Yeah, sorry, 125 maybe, yeah, right? I think dates of the 175, if you're looking at it, that's 700.
175, yeah.
175 every quarter, right, is what he has to pay out. Now the problem, and this is also another, like I mentioned, roughly about $7 billion, right? $7.5 billion. This is what's an immediate overhang, right? Because this is not principal that he needs to pay back, right? The only way he can get rid of this debt, right? So in his bonds that he had bought, right, or sorry, that he had issued, उसमें क्या है कि the seller can, so the creditor can say कि भाई मेरे को अभी मेरा principal वापस चाहिए. If say for a very long period of time it's trading below par value, MSTR के पास भी एक call option है कि वो बोल सकता है I am calling back my bond, ठीक है, मैं तुम्हारे पैसे भी वापस कर रहा हूँ before maturity date also, if he feels that the price is trading above premium, because what he will do, he will simply issue more stocks, sell it in the open market, garner that premium. जब तक MSTR is trading above 1 NAV, that is pure play profit for Mr. Michael Saylor. I think the current effective DAM of MSTR, I don't know what the figure is. I think the NAV right now is 1.2. 20% is pure profit for him, right?
ऊपर चले गया वापस. अभी तो
I think it's 1.2 जितना मैंने last देखा था. So
1.2 से 1.25, 1.3 होगा, because पिछले साल they were trading between 2.5 to 3, and this year they dropped to
1.18 पे अभी.
1.18 पे, right? 1.2 सही.
Got it.
Correct. So anyway, so now comes the point that where the FUD. So this is a very dangerous flywheel. No questions about that, right? Because what he's doing is playing with fire, and it is clearly evident that the cost of capital is becoming more and more expensive for him, right? Because the flywheel keeps on running as and when the price of BTC keeps on moving up. With वो जितना BTC खरीदेगा उतना प्राइस ऊपर जाएगा, प्रीमियम जितना रहेगा उतना और स्टॉक बेच पाएगा, वो अपने खर्चे पूरे कर पाएगा, because his software business is a negative cash flow business anyway, right? So it's not that he's generating much cash there. I feel where the entire FUD comes from, right? So people are saying that this $700 million in dividend payouts, that's an annual payout, right? It is not immediate 700 million, it is an annual payout जो पिछले काफी टाइम से payout होए जा रहा है, उसका एक किश्त अभी end of December जाना है, right? एक किश्त अभी end of December जाना है, एक किश्त अभी March के end में जाना है, right? One installment of that, because like I mentioned, it's paid out in quarters, quarterly dividends. Now, what happens is, I haven't read through the issue document, but no dividend is a legally mandated dividend. By the end of the day, if he feels, or if the shareholder feels that by this person is not paying me dividends anymore, what will they do? What will they do? Yeah. There is nothing that they can either file a case against him. वो बोलेगा मेरे पास cash flow ही नहीं है, मैं क्या करूं? Right? Unless or until the SEC mandates him to going into bankruptcy, because he himself won't sell that BTC. What else can he do? He can either issue fresh stock, which is 20% का जो इसके पास leeway पड़ा हुआ है, and use that to pay off his sort of obligations. Or what he can do is, भाई वो जो 20% का उसके पास differential पड़ा हुआ है, वो बेच के ये सारा stock open market से खरीद ले कि ये legal obligation ही खत्म हो जाए इसकी. So we don't know what he's going to do. To say that this is a major sort of setback, I don't think that's true. Time will tell, because like I said, I haven't read through the issue documents to see because abhi hoga kya, like for example an STRK and all of these other products that he's come out with, which are dividend paying sort of units, compulsory dividend paying units. Compulsory dividend paying unit का मतलब क्या है? अगर dividend announce होता है, इसको तो सबसे पहले मिलेगा MSTR shareholder से पहले. That's what preferred means, कि पहले मेरा right होगा जब निकलेगा, और मेरे को एटलीस्ट इतना तो मिलेगा ही. आई डोंट नो द लीगैलिटीज अराउंड कि अगर मेरे पास पैसा ही नहीं है देने के लिए तो मैं क्या करूंगा. मैं लिक्विडेट करके तो डिविडेंड दूंगा नहीं, बिकॉज डिविडेंड इज अ शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट, राइट? डिविडेंड आपका शेयर होल्डर प्रॉफिट से आता है. या तो आप उधार लेके डिविडेंड पे आउट करो, राइट? या तो वो कर सकते हो, ही कैन रेज डेट टू पे ऑफ डिविडेंड्स. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज फॉर हाउ लॉन्ग कैन ही डू दैट. लाइक आई मेंशन्ड, उसके पास 20% बफर है अभी भी उधार लेने के लिए, बिकॉज द करंट प्राइस इज ट्रेडिंग अबव NAV, राइट? या तो प्राइस ऑफ BTC और बढ़ जाए तो उसके बाद वो लीवे और बढ़ जाएगा उसका, राइट? So these are the kind of options that he has. So
or he can just delay the payments.
नहीं दूंगा, और अगर डिविडेंड नहीं देगा, प्रेफर्ड स्टॉक ऑप्शंस का, so not stock options, preferred stock units का, their I would say the right that those shareholders have is that the dividends will keep on getting accrued. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आपका पिछले साल का माफ हो जाएगा अगर आपने डिसाइड किया पे ऑफ करने का. तो he can, like I said, either he can buy these back, right, and nullify it. Number two, he can sort of take a loan and then pay it back, because he still has that money. So he can issue fresh stock, sell it in the market, reduces premium, and then pay these guys off, or use it to buy it back. Or he can simply say मेरे पास नहीं है अभी देने के लिए, मैं अगली बार दूंगा. He is not mandated to make these payments right now. Let me tell you that much.
Got it.
I think one thing. नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से there is one thing कि the FUD is mostly not on the preferred stocks. The FUD is mostly on MSTR price and BTC valuation, right? कि वो जो FUD चलता है वो I know there is no problem, but the problem, देखो problem तब आता है जब जो हम बात करते हैं ना वो convertible bonds जो इसने issue किए हुए, right? And there is this whole conversation of that, you know, his liquidation valuation is at 70K or 60K or जो भी है.
There is no liquidation valuation concept here.
There is no liquidation. No, the liquidation नहीं होती. But what happens is, because of these convertible bonds, right? Those investors जिसको इसने बेचे हुए convertible bonds, those debt bonds, right? They will end up saying अगर price NAV value से 1 से नीचे ज़्यादा चली जाती है, right? And I don't know that that's going to happen, but that is the mentality that people think, right? That is the thing that people think कि वो बोलेंगे भाई पैसा दो वापस, तो इसके पास और कोई option है नहीं but to liquidate that and then pay these guys off.
Correct. How much is his BTC holding right now? If Narkunding can tell us his current value.
650K. Yeah, 650K.
Multiply that by the current value. How much is that in value?
इसका current Mr. value?
नहीं,
Mr. I think is
value of Bitcoin. Current value of Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100 से भी करोगे तो
100 so about 650 million. No, 65 billion. 65 billion.
Exactly.
66 billion.
65 billion. His overall liabilities today are 8 billion. That convertible bond is $8 billion. That's it.
So then that's what I'm saying, that there is really no issue. It's
There is
just
no
people's
risk.
mentality thinking
And
that part. Yeah.
exactly. And he is not liable to liquidate. Let me tell you this much: if the price of NAV is trading below the price of, if the price of MSTR is trading below NAV, तो क्या कर लेगा कोई उसको?
हाँ,
His
वो
convertible
जबरदस्ती
bond
नहीं है
does
उसको
not
बेचना.
give
Exactly.
anybody. Yeah, the
Just
convertible
based on
bond
his
does not give
Bitcoin
anyone
holdings,
the
he'll be able
right.
to raise
Does
money
not
also.
give anyone the right to call the underlying balance sheet of the company. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Unless or until the company moves into liquidation, which is bankruptcy is declared.
Which is not
And
possible
knowing
because he's
Michael
holding
Saylor, he
65
probably,
billion.
Exactly.
and मेरे को ये बात बताओ, वो बंदा पागल है, वो बंदा BTC होल्ड कर रहा है, उसने बोला मैंने तो कीज उठा के फेंक दिया, क्या कर लोगे तुम मुझे बताओ?
Yeah.
क्या कर
कुछ
लोगे?
नहीं कर सकते आप, कुछ नहीं कर सकते. That's
क्या
what I'm
कर
saying.
लोगे?
These guys can't do shit. ये कोई, it's a mentality
वो
thing.
बोलेगा मेरे कीज खो
People
गए,
just think.
वो बोलेगा मेरे कीज खो गए, what will you do?
You can't do shit,
What will
bro.
you
वही बोलो.
What will you do?
So
No,
it's
I
just
think this is,
it's
yeah.
just part mentality that crypto has, and I think people just sort of
No, and I
use
am
that.
completely of the viewpoint that what he's doing is very, very dangerous. It's very risky flywheel economics. It takes somebody 5 minutes to figure out. Like I mentioned, जो मैंने mathematics करके देखा है, वो पूरा Olympus Dow का mathematics है. That's what Olympus Dow used to do. So
He's
we know,
ex-finance
and
on in
Olympus,
the equity markets.
yeah, and Olympus Dow today trades below its reserve value, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's perpetually trading below its reserve value because because everybody knows that we will never get access to that reserve asset.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, it is what it is. I mean, you either have confidence in the stock or you don't have confidence in the stock. Does not necessarily mean that you get access to the underlying assets of that particular company, because that you have like for example, if I hold a stock of Coca-Cola, right, and the stock, I feel the balance sheet value of Coca-Cola today is, let's say, $1 trillion, and the stock is trading at $800 billion. Will I then call up Coca-Cola company and tell them, you know what, तुम्हारी कंपनी का वैल्यूएशन $1 ट्रिलियन है, मेरे तो $800 बिलियन पे ट्रेड कर रहा है मेरा शेयर, मेरे को वो पैसे दो अपने बैलेंस शीट से निकाल के, वो थोड़ी मेरे को घर पे कोक का बॉटल बेच देगा वो मेरे घर में, नहीं होता इस तरीके से. That's not how it works, and I think that is what people are missing. Yes, it is definitely a risky flywheel. Nonetheless, what he's doing is playing with fire, but I don't think it gives anybody. I don't think there's enough data around this topic for us to comment saying that, you know what, we'll get that asset. What I think what JP Morgan is
I mean, even if suppose BTC price falls to sort of $50, तब भी वो उसके पास जितनी holdings हैं, that is what 32.5 billion dollars, और अगर उसकी उधारी सिर्फ 15 billion dollar है, तो भी double the value of assets तो है ही उसके पास.
Exactly. अगर उसका एंड में मन करे चलो सब कुछ बंद करके चले आते हैं, उसके पास he is well covered. Secondly, मुझे क्या लगता है that what people are essentially saying that this is a mathematical error. So it's not a mathematical error. What they've done is he's done this with all sense, and I mean he's thought this out and he's
a smart guy, bro. Yeah, he's thought about it.
And I completely agree that he's playing with fire. There's nothing right with what he's doing, but
मजा हुआ खिलाड़ी है और स्कीम चला रहा है, जब तक चले तब तक बढ़िया है. अगर नहीं,
I think that's the right word. Scheme चला रहा है वो बहुत.
Scheme चला रहा है.
Yes, even their total outstanding debt was 8 billion and preferred stock is still less at 5.8 billion.
So he has nothing.
12-13 billion ही है total. That's it.
Yeah, bro. I mean,
if you look at the mathematics, जो लोग फंड फैला रहे हैं उन्होंने मैथमेटिक्स ढंग से नहीं करी है, मैं ये मानता हूँ. अगर बिकॉज जितना मैंने ये हेडलाइन देखा है ऑन दीस ट्विटर पोस्ट्स, everyone is calling it a mathematical error. When I went through the data, my only thing was, if अगर तुम बताते what MSTR is doing is dangerous, I would have supported it. But you are calling it a mathematical error. I would want to say that the person writing this post has committed a mathematical error. He has not gone through the numbers properly, is what I would say.
Got it. ठीक है भाई, आज की बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग और लाइवली डिस्कशन. होपफुली माइकल सेलर ये देखे और आके हमारे शो पे थोड़ा और स्कीम के बारे में हमें बताए. बट जस्ट टिल देन
लक्ष्मी चीट पर 2 महीने में पैसा डबल.
Yeah, but till then, please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell icon.